Thank you so much for joining the show, Ilenia. Very excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Katie. It's so nice to have me to be here and to be interviewed. Thank you.
I think a great place to begin, because I know that you're the author of Journey to Centricity and you wrote this book that focuses on customer centricity. I'd love to know, what are the sort of core 3 pillars of your book?
Well, thank you so much for asking this question. It makes me really grateful that people are interested in one of the hardest piece of my work and the most rewarding as well. So thanks for asking. So Journey to Centricity is a roadmap for business leaders to help restructuring their business from product-centric to customer-centric businesses. It's divided into 3 main sections that I call pillars. And these are humanity, technology, and culture. So the first one, so the humanity pillar, is the one that I put at the beginning, because I believe is one of the most important sections of the book. And it talks a lot about, it reasons the why companies are alive, why should we buy from these companies. And so it touches upon elements of humanity, for example, so the human factor of a business. How are we more human towards our customers? So in these and this side of the business talks a lot about, this side of the book talks a lot about corporate social responsibility. How are we more human with customers through our empathic human touch, CSR, but also how we can build trust and earn trust with customers. So it talks a lot about the soft side of a business that is actually crucial in today's AI world. So that's the first section. Second section, as I said, is the technology pillar, which reasons the how. So it answers the how questions. And specifically, it talks about how customer-centric companies use the necessary technologies as enablers. And this is a very important word, enablers, for delivering their customer experiences. So here I explore things such as customer-centric innovation, product innovation, or services innovation, and ease of use. So how easy is for a customer to interact with that product or service or a company itself. And I talk about hyper-personalization, so the use of data to hyper-personalization to improve the lives of and the interaction of those customers. So it's a lot about humanizing technology and having the right balance between the human factor, the technology in a business. Because like we're living in a world where artificial intelligence is taking the main stage, and we shouldn't forget that we're also human beings and we interact with human beings, not only with machines. So for me, it was really important to help businesses to have this balance, this huge, important balance between one and the other. Now, the third section, again, is one of the most important ones, and it talks about the culture of a business. And this section reasons the who. So I'm answering the questions why, how, and who. And it dives into how companies must transform their culture to become customer-centric businesses. So, and here I talk a lot about leadership, of course, corporate culture. I talk about the people of the organization and more precisely employees, across the company. And I also talk a lot about the bottom line as well. So bottom line as in the customer lifetime value, being one of the most important metrics in a business. So these are the main 3 pillars. And as I said, the book basically shares a roadmap that companies can use in their transformation from product-centric into customer-centric businesses.
Wonderful. And I think it's so interesting the way you put these pillars together with the humanity, then the technology aspect, and then the culture aspect, because it's true that we might not look at customer centricity through those lens. And I also do some company culture consulting, so that really resonated with me. So it's interesting to see company culture and how it links with customer centricity. Maybe you can tell us a bit more how companies can pivot or shift their company culture to be more customer centricity.
So I would say a lot of it starts at the top. And I don't only say this from a hierarchical perspective, which is still really, really important, but I say especially from a vision perspective. So what is the actual vision of the organization? It's not purpose, it's the vision. So, because not most, I would say, like there are many companies who believe their product is the best. And what they do to compete with other companies, it's they just release a newer version of their product and a newer and more cheaper version of the product. So the competition goes on product and services. Rather, we want to focus more, if we want to become a customer-centric business, then our focus should be on customers. How can we provide a better relationship, a better way of interacting with customers? You know, of course, the product is always there and is always really important. So it's our first, like the bare minimum is our product. It should be good quality, great price, and it should be one of the best in the competition, or across the competition. But most of the time, we stop there. We forget that we also have experiences. We also have values as businesses. And those values should align with customers' values. And those experiences should align with customer expectations. You know? So what I'm saying is, so our vision is not just about the product, but it should be about serving customers better, right? It should be about creating stronger relationship with our customers. But the most important thing is serving customers, because yes, of course, we are serving customers with products and services, but are we actually serving customers, or are we just selling the next product? It's a different kind of mindset. So it all starts there from a vision, you know, from a strong customer service, customer obsession vision, or however we want to call it. But it starts from there. And obviously at the top, we also have the board, our directors, our top managers, our business leaders, who are those that reside at the top, obviously are some of the most important people in the organization that take decisions for the customers, but also for our employees. But unfortunately here we have a problem that people at the top, most of the times, don't know the issues at the bottom, you know, so don't have a customer-centric vision, not because they don't want it, but because they don't know what's going on at the bottom, right? So here is the problem with the hierarchical silos that we face in organizations. And so a vision, it should be aligned, should be linear and not vertical, right? So that's one of the problems. So when I say that a vision should start at the top, I mean also in leadership positions. So everybody should have the same vision, also the leaders of the organization, but those leaders should support it and should model those customer-centric behavior across all the employees. So when I said that the gap between the top and the bottom is quite wide, I mean it. There is a huge gap. First of all, in terms of lack of communication on customer problems, for example, or internal problems of the business that don't work quite well for the customer. And also, the people at the top should understand what happens at the bottom in order to make decisions for the business and for the customers. Because eventually, like, you're taking decisions for the business, but then they are reverted as externally, right, for the customers. So that's why when I'm saying we start a transformation from the top, from a vision. So we should have a more customer-focused vision. And second, again, from our leaders. If we don't have the support from our leaders, our transformation is basically it flows, it's just stalls. So these are the main things that I believe a customer-centric transformation can happen.
Yes, and what you said about it comes from the top. I mean, 200% for all cultural aspects and for everything, including the customer aspect. Leadership really has a ripple effect on everything. And especially if the leaders don't follow the values or aren't clear on the vision, even if the rest of the company has some sort of tied values or vision that makes sense, if it's not followed by the top and not role modeled, then that really, it doesn't work. That's one way of putting it.
And also because if we look at it, the people at the bottom, say the frontliners, for example, they have a more customer-centric vision and touch than the people at the top. They're forced to, because they talk to customers every day, right? So that's their job. But we need to embrace a customer-centric culture from the top, because are those people at the top that take the decisions that allow people at the bottom to have more autonomy on customer solving problems, for example, or giving more solutions to customers. So we need this kind of alignments between the top and the bottom.
Yes, and it's interesting, you're talking a lot about products and how that would work with products, but I think it's even more relevant if we look at services, because then directly our product is in and of itself the relationship with the client. So I'm curious to your perspective, if it's a company or a small company or maybe even small business owners, and really they focus on services with their clients, how that's even more important, the customer centricity aspect of things.
So my clients are usually big corporations, big businesses, especially in the business to consumer side. But regardless of which sector, which product we sell, we are in the business to serve customers. We are in the business to build those relationships, to keep those customers, Of course, we are in the business to sell products and services as well, because a company starts from there, right? But as we grow and we become bigger, then we lose touch of customers. We lose those customer focus that we should be instead keeping in the long term. That's the problem. But I believe that regardless of business to business or business to consumer, or regardless of which sector we are talking about, we are here to serve customers better. That's our role.
I like that. And I think if we remember that, not only do we make the world a better place, depending on what the product and services are, but also we grow and thrive, and it really feels like a win-win, an exchange. And it's not just going out there and trying to make sales or lots of marketing just to earn money and profit for it to climb, because that's kind of soulless. I mean, money's great, but if that's the only aim of a business, it doesn't have much depth. But if it's to help people to thrive, and then you thrive, and then the whole company culture is around growth and balance and supporting one another and collaboration, then really that's a much more organic way of working and a lot more meaningful and deep. And I'm curious, how would you tie together then the concept of corporate purpose, which is also so meaningful and important nowadays, with this notion of customer centricity?
So I want to define customer centricity first, because I should have done it before. I always say, and this is also a line that you'll find in my book, I would say that delivering good, positive experiences once, twice, or even occasionally doesn't make businesses customer centric. And that's one of the misconceptions that we have, because a lot of businesses say, oh, we deliver really good customer experiences. Yes, but are they intentional? Are they intentionally delivered to be good customer experiences, or they're just delivered them okay or good by accident? Thing number one. Second, are they consistent good customer experiences? Things number two. And third, is a customer-centric culture shared across the organization? That's one of the things that differs customer centricity from product centricity, for example. So customer-centric businesses have their customer-centric model as a strategy and is shared across the organization. So they put the customer at the center for every decisions they take, and there is always the interest of making the lives of consumers better and easier, right? Not just for the bottom line, but for the customer. So that's the main definition of customer centricity. But going back to your question about linking corporate purpose and customer centricity, let's start from 3 points here. First one is that new generation of consumers, especially millennials and Generation Z, want to interact with companies, want to buy and interact with companies that have a higher purpose, rather than just selling products and services to maximize profit, which, as we know, most of the times is seen as detrimental for society. So these are the 2 generations that I've based my book on. So a lot of the expectations that I talk about are taken based on these 2 generations. For many reasons, but I think the world is changing, like all generations are changing towards this way. However, millennials and Gen Z have strong corporate social responsibility values. You know, they want to see companies to have a bigger purpose, to have a role in society than just selling products, as we said. They lack trust in governments, and they believe that companies can help better in addressing societal issues and environmental issues. Now, you might say, if a company doesn't have the higher purpose, you know, or doesn't sell a product that is, you know, structured into having a higher purpose, what can they do? Well, I always say, why don't we stop ruining our planet instead of, you know, we don't have to have a higher purpose if we're not structured in the business, if our business is not structured like that, you know, although we can find it. But instead of having like detrimental actions and behaviors towards ruining and towards exploiting resources, why don't we just try not to, you know? Do you know what I mean? That's the opposite side. So first thing is that the way I link it purpose is because the expectations of our customers are clear. And there is a study, a really interesting study, that has revealed that customers are 4 to 6 times more likely to buy from companies that have a high purpose, to trust more those companies, to champion more of those companies, and to defend more of those companies that stand for having a higher purpose. So, and there was another thing that I think, and that my book talks a lot about it, is when consumers align themselves with a purpose-driven brand, it is because they feel a deeper connection based on shared beliefs and values. You know, and we've seen it with Nike, for example. We've seen it with Ben & Jerry. We've seen it with Patagonia. We've seen it with many other companies. So that's the trend in which we are going, you know, because we don't have much time in terms of environmental and planet issues that we're facing. We don't have much time. And we believe, I included myself in this, we believe that companies can do a lot to help, but do a lot not to ruin our planet, you know, to just stay there in and not ruin the planet, and just behave as ethical. Then the other points that I was gonna talk about was that, so I think I mentioned it earlier. So alongside a higher purpose, of course, we should be commercial. It doesn't mean that having a purpose is not being commercial, right? It's not making profit. But our main vision, as we said earlier, it should be serving customers better, right? So instead of having this hyper focus on maximizing profit, why don't we have both? We have a focus on maximizing profit and being commercial, but also a focus on serving customers, which both of them can be, you know. If we flip the coin and we only look at and only focus on maximization of profit, running a company from the perspective of revenues, cost, balance sheets, sales performance, you know, which is what happens at the top. This is what happens at the top. Unfortunately, clouds the view of customer relationship, and it makes it really hard for us to maximize their health and their values. They value, you know. So we need to have that balance of maximization of profits, respecting the planet and the society, but also serving customers. That links to corporate purpose as well. And the last one, as I said earlier, is that the customer centricity starts at the top. So having a strong vision on serving customers rather than selling products and just volume, you know. So we should be switching and be able to switch from volume of product to volume of fulfilling expectations, fulfilling needs, and creating better customer relationships. Those are different kind of volume, right?
It's more quality compared to quantity. So in one case, we're really focusing on the amount of sales and the actual balance sheet and the numbers, and we're forgetting the people side of things. And on the other hand, we're looking at, you know, our clients renewing. Are we upselling? Are they filling in their satisfactory, you know, feedback form and saying that they're really happy with the work done? Are we over delivering? Because I know that Tony Robbins says this, that one of the key ingredients to growing your business and to thriving is to over deliver to your clients. And he mentions this over and over again. And he mentions Zappos and other places that really had in the mind this idea of over delivering. And I think it's because if customers come and they have a certain expectations, if you under deliver, then that's it. They're probably not going to come back, right? If you say that you're going to return, they can return their things within 2 weeks, and actually it doesn't work, the return policy doesn't work, then they'll be like, okay, screw this, I'll just find another company. So most people don't go back to companies who under deliver. If you just meet expectations, 50-50 chance. Yeah, it was good, but there was nothing special. But if you systematically build a habit, and this comes from having a customer-centric company culture, if you systematically build this habit of over delivering, then I mean the chances of clients coming back, of word of mouth, of spreading. So I think when you said we could have both focused, I like that perspective. But I also think if most of the focus is placed on are clients fully satisfied, are we over delivering, etc., and you put most of your focus on the relationships with the clients, then it's going to impact the finance anyway. So it's just smart, really.
Yeah, I agree with you. What I was saying about volume is that there is a belief that, especially like companies that have targets on, for example, selling numbers of products per month or per quarter, you know, without actually, and it's not about the product, sorry, actually there in that sort of mindset, it's not about the customer, it's about the product, you know, because they need to hit those targets. But by doing that, yes, you sell X amount of products and services or softwares or whatever we want to call them, but then you lose the focus of customers. So instead of thinking about the amount of products that you should sell, think about the amount of customer expectations and needs that you can fulfill. Think about the number of relationships with customers that you can build and grow. That's a different kind of volume, different kind of targets, you know. I think the business narratives is upside down in a way. We look a lot about maximization of targets and profit and revenues, etc., which it's fine. It's absolutely fine. But the way we do it is wrong, you know, because it's all and just about numbers. And we forget the human side of a business. That's what I was talking about. Yes. And of course, I mean, if you nurture those relationships, as you were saying, they will grow, they'll stay with us for a long term, and they will be ambassadors, of course. But that doesn't mean that customers won't buy from other companies. That doesn't mean that customers will not leave us, because it will happen. You know, we're human beings, we have different needs all the time, and as we grow and we have different values, different expectations, different needs and wants, we look at other companies as well, right? So it's that's absolutely fine. Of course, that's what I'm saying. We need to have both. We need to have both customer relationship focus, but also a growth focus.
Keeping both aspects in mind. And I'm curious, how do you apply this lens of customer centricity in your own business? So how do you use all the principles and all the things you learn to grow your own business and to support your clients best?
Oh, that's a lovely question. It's actually a post that I did, I think a few months back. So customer centricity is all about listening to customer needs and fulfilling those needs, right? So putting the customer at the center. How can I help you better, right? You know, for example, my services are public speaking. So I do a lot of public speaking services for conferences, but also for private clients. I am mostly working for private clients these days. And everything is personalized for them. So personalization is one of the key elements of listening to customers and fulfilling those needs. You know, the more we know those customers on a personalized level, on an individual level, the more we are able to fulfill those needs and serve them better. And the way I apply it to my business and in my services is that all the workshops that I do, all the talks and presentation that I give to my client, they are all tailored, 100% tailored to their sector, to their customers, to their customer behaviors, to their cultural environment, to say Italy or Spain or etc. And everything is customized. Even the case studies or the practical advice that I give, or the data, everything is customized exactly for them. For example, if they tell me we want to talk more about empathy and, I don't know, technology, for example, and, you know, the digital side of our customer experience, then we dig into that. We have an assessment and we talk about their main pain points, and we dig into those. And I specifically make, for example, an analogy. There is always an analogy that lands with a strong message in my talks. And so based on where the client resides, for example, if it's a Greek client, then I try to use a Greek mythology, and you know, it lands really well because culturally, people like to hear things from their own culture. They like to hear things from their own country. If I'm speaking in Latin America, for example, I do a speech in Spanish. So there is this sort of connection, right? I try to connect with my audience like this, with an analogy and also with the language if I can. I cannot speak all the languages, but I try to do my best. Then that's one thing, so personalization, though. So there are many other elements that I try to apply. Flexibility in terms of dates, for example. I'm flexible with the design. Some of my clients want the design to be more high-end, a little bit more simplistic, a little bit more. So everything is about them. So everything is personalized with them. Some of my clients ask me to have an easier English, although I think my English is quite easy and simple to understand. But some of my clients ask me to talk quite plain and easy and slow down. You know, it's all personalized, basically. I'm very flexible with the dates as well, and I try to accommodate the dates needs, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a speech. So mainly is about listening to what they need and try to fulfill those needs.
Such a wonderful example of how you actually apply it, because people listening, whether they, you know, run and lead an organization, or if they have their own business, they can really get inspired by what you're sharing. So not just from a theoretical perspective, how it works and why it's important, but also thinking, okay, this is how she does it, really listening, really tailoring, really taking into account their preferences, cultural preferences. I mean, how many organizations, when they deal with another organization, do they even think about how different country it is, or culture, or do they use, you know, vocabulary or words, you know, for instance, if it's an American company that works with a French one, maybe they use American slang or keywords that people don't understand in France, because they're not used to that, you know, dialect or way of speaking. So it's pretty rare, I think, overall, if we haven't learned to, and if we haven't built that awareness to actually tailor our either work or workshops or speech to the other person's needs. But if you learn that, and if you realize how important it is, and if it feels good, because afterwards you can see the reward and you can see how people are happy, and I'm sure you experience this a lot, then it's just like anything, it's just a behavior that can be learned.
Exactly. As I said, there is a lot of analysis behind it before a workshop gets done, or a speech is done. There is a lot behind, a lot of assessment, and a lot of course, you need to give them practical advice. That's what they need. They want value. As companies deliver value to customers, I am there to entertain, to inspire them to change, but also I want to give them value in terms of practical things that they can do from day one. That's what they want, basically. You know, they want to meet. And I'm there to deliver value.
Yes, and that's what we all want to do, right? That's what we all want to bring into the world. Wonderful. What a lovely note to finish on, Ilenia. This has flown by. Thank you so much for joining the show and for sharing all your wisdom. What's the best way people can get in touch with you?
So they can get in touch to me on LinkedIn, Ilenia Vidili, or my website, ileniavidili.com.
Amazing. Thank you
so
so much
for having me, Katie.
Thank you.